one of the things that I think, for better or for worse, that Steve Jobs and Apple did was they really actually democratized technology. So you'll remember an era in companies
Yeah.
where the CEO and the CFO and whoever else just talked to the IT director, the CIO, whoever it was, and just more or less just said, you deal with that technology
Yeah.
stuff, right? Oftentimes, they might have had the most expensive laptop or computer in the company, but oftentimes never used it. Had their secretary print out
Yeah.
emails so they could read it on the plane, train, or whatever it might be, right? And the iPhone actually helped burst that barrier, where now the CFO was pressuring the CTO saying, I want my iPhone to read company email.
Yeah.
Make it happen, right? And now suddenly the CTO is getting the call from upstairs. It used to be from all the employees saying, "Why the hell are we stuck with this technology? That's so all these ridiculous security barriers." And so and I think and the other thing it did is that so for people on Wall Street and then in the finance world, right, they were also actually generally speaking not very friendly to technology, right? They
Yeah.
had their old ways of doing business that they were very happy with because generally speaking, they made them extremely wealthy, right? And so now what you see is, and then also the other thing as well is that as these companies start to get wealthier, so you imagine coming out of Harvard or Oxford or whatever sort of place, and your choice is put on a suit, get up at 6 a.m. every day, and then go down to the finance camps,
Yeah.
at Goldman Sachs or whatever, and suffer till midnight, and or I could go work for this company called Google, right? And they're paying me the same money for whatever
Yeah.
reason, but I get my lunch paid for. I show up kind of when I want to, right? I dress more or less how I want to, sort of thing. And and so you saw this interesting culture where and the thing about that is you start to bring in basically a lot of traditional money people. As you know, there's a class of people that just care about how do I get rich,
Mm.
right? And so it used to be typically finance, banking, that sort of thing, right? But now they're saying, oh, I could do the same thing, but wake up at noon, but I can do it in Silicon Valley, right?
Yeah.
And so I think you start to see an ethos of, if you will, normies coming in, and they were perfectly happy to say, oh yeah, that Peter Thiel stuff, that philosophy of just like get rich quick however you have to,
Yeah.
and all this other stuff about, oh yeah, we're here to help change the world. Yeah, we'll say that in marketing, but whatever means that we can concentrate as much income and wealth as quickly as possible, that's what we're actually going to do. And that's
Right.
exactly what happened, actually.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That feels currently like where we're at in this
Yeah.
kind of uh, uh, quasi dystopia, where we are at a macro level, richer, more advanced. Just sometimes if you look at the top line numbers, you say, well, why is anyone happy? This is a nirvana, but yet on the ground, and you don't have to go on the ground if you're beneath the 0.01%, certainly 0.1%. It doesn't feel very good, right? I mean, it's remarkably unsatisfying, and it's not just money, because
Yeah.
even those who are, I've got retired people now at my age who are retired from their careers in banking and law and things like that, and yeah, they're like, yeah, so it's great that I achieved this thing, but I live in a country now where I actively fear is I have to sell my Tesla,
Yeah.
my beloved car, because I don't want to stress out every time I go to the restaurant
Mm.
or
Yeah.
leave it overnight at a hotel that it's going to get keyed, it's going to get tires punctured, or worse, set on fire in some cases, right? And so it's a weird place that we live in, where on in some levels it's never ever been better, and yet somehow or another, at a wide level, we feel less satisfied than certainly within our lifetime. Obviously, historically, I'm sure there have been wider,
Yeah.
deeper depths of depression and whatnot. But it's a weird place to be.
Is there any way back, do you think, to kind of, ease those divisions or turn that around, make things like that marketing message rather than the sort of go for the money? Is there any way back? What's the hope there?
I think the greatest hope is that increasing an increasing number of normies, right? People who just wanted to be left alone in their nice house with their car, with their 2.5 kids or whatever,
Yeah.
to just okay, there's all they're increasingly worried, either because literally their jobs are being eliminated, or they just are just really stressed out about what's happening. And I think in America, I think if there's any positive come out of the last election is that people realize that the Democrats, these establishment Democrats, are actually hopeless, right? I mean, who gives someone $1 billion in 3 months' time to win an election? Everyone says money is where you win this thing,
Yeah.
right? And it outraised Trump by a factor of 3, right? And still lose. They lost bigger. They we had a candidate who is half black, half Indian, and lost ground with blacks and Hispanics to Donald Trump, arguably seemingly who's called racist and misogynist
Yeah.
seemingly every other sentence. And yet, so, and I think ultimately it's because, people realize that the Democrats for a long time now have really been a party of the rich.
Yeah.
Most of them are multimillionaires themselves, right? And so what you get is kind of like they are disconnected from normal people, and they don't really want to reconnect because they don't want to change things like, say, taxes or other policies that might actually make it better for people making less than 100,000 pounds a year, sort of thing. And so all they seek to do is say, we're not the bad orange guy over there. And that's literally been Hillary Clinton's campaign is, I'm not Trump. And, Kamala's campaign was, I'm not Trump. Oh, also, he's a fascist.
Yeah.
That's how they up the ante, by adding even more swear words or derogatory terms. And you need to, people are dumb, right? Because if you have been a Democrat all these years, you have been waiting for that change, right? I mean, income and wealth distribution has got worse since World War II.
Yeah.
So you're talking, what are we, 70 years of steady worsening of, and so, and everyone comes in, it's going to be better, all this sort of stuff, and then they come and they go. And Obama, who was probably the last, widely embraced Democratic president, it got worse under him as well. How do you have a financial crisis that attacks the price of stock price assets and house assets, and the rich get richer? Because those are the people who actually own those things. And yet, despite that crash, they actually got richer during this period.
Yeah.
Right? So, anyway, so I think my great hope is that also that people realize we need to actually it's no longer good enough to just sit here outraged all the time about, oh, have you read about what Trump's doing? Oh, have you read? Of course, we're going to do that to some extent.
Yeah.
But that's not enough. We've actually got to say, well, okay, so what are we going to offer that's different other than we're not them?